Here in Nigeria, the Minister of Finance, Zainab Ahmed, says the federal government may review the approved 2020 budget over the economic impact of the coronavirus. The 2020 budget of 10.5 trillion naira, which is about $29 billion, based on crude oil benchmark of $57 per barrel, with a production capacity of 2.1 million barrels per day. But the virus, which has spread through 64 countries, has negatively affected the price of crude oil, Nigeria's major source of revenue. Speaking with journalists at the end of the Federal Executive Council meeting yesterday, the minister said there are concerns over the spread of the disease as it has an economic impact. She said crude oil production is now between 2 and 2.1 million barrels per day, which is below the benchmark on which the budget was prepared. She also said a review will be done to determine if a budget adjustment will be enforced. Still in Nigeria now, the country's apex bank, Central Bank of Nigeria, has released a draft guideline for the regulation of microfinance banks, MFBs. The bank has set April 21st, 2020 as a deadline for MFBs to meet the first stage of the new minimum capital base. The guideline for regulation and supervision of MFBs was last reviewed in 2013. On these stories, I have Arise Business Analyst Chika Mbonu in the studio. You're welcome, sir. Good morning.
Hi, Rotus. How are you today?
I'm fine. And good to have you. So, with regards to the guidelines, why have they become necessary?
The microfinance banks are a very important layer, a very important component of the financial inclusion program of the Central Bank of Nigeria. Do recall that we'll have a target, I think, for next year to be financially inclusive for up to 80%.
Yes.
Even though we're still far from that.
Right.
So they're very important layer, the important partners in that process. And if you have followed in the past, this sector has been bedeviled with so many crises, as such that CBN has even had to close so many of the microfinance bank, principally because of the fact that some of them lacked corporate governance. And so this new guidelines is to reposition and strengthen that sector, important sector, in the process of achieving the financial inclusion program objective of the government.
Right.
The guidelines was last reviewed, as you said in your rider, in 2013. And so it's time again for them to be reviewed.
Okay.
Especially in the different elements of the guidelines.
So what are some of the highlights of the guidelines?
There's several, but let me focus on two elements of them. One has to do with the capital, or basically let me start from the fact that in the old guideline, the microfinance banks in Nigeria were stratified into 3 classes. In this new guidelines, they have been classified into 4 classes. So you have Tier 1 unit, Tier 2 units, the state and the national microfinance banks.
Okay.
So that's the first thing. Now, the second thing there is the capital, capitalization required for each of these segments. The first one is the Tier 1 microfinance banks. The existing capital now is about 20 million.
Okay.
So the policy has put a phase 1, the capitalization, and a phase 2 for 2021. So the ultimate capitalization for the Tier 1 microfinance bank is 200 million naira. But the one for achievement by April 1 this year is 100 million. So by April 1 this year, the Tier 1 microfinance banks must achieve 100 million capital and ultimately 200 million by next year.
Next year.
There are 2 microfinance banks, also capital is 20 million now, must achieve by next year 50 million. But by April 1 this year, 35 million.
Okay.
And of course, we moved on to the state microfinance banks. Current capital of 100 million, moved to 1 billion by 2021. However, by April 1 this year, they should meet at least 500 million out of that 1 billion ultimate capital. And then, of course, national microfinance banks from 2 billion capital now to 5 billion in 2021. But by April 1 this year, they must achieve 3.5 billion. So the first thing, new thing in the guideline is for classification of microfinance banks, the capital, new capital base required.
Okay.
The other element that is new is the areas of operation. The areas of operation. The Tier 1 microfinance banks were told to operate in the banked and the high density areas.
Okay.
And should not have more than 4 branches outside their head office in
Okay.
5 contiguous local government areas.
Okay.
So basically, the Tier 1 microfinance banks, remember, who have ultimate capital of 200 million, should operate in the high bank density areas and should not have more than 4 branches outside the head office in 5 local areas. The Tier 2 microfinance banks,
okay,
should be operate in the rural, unbanked, and underbanked areas, and they can have maximum 1 branch out of their head
Tier
office.
2?
Yeah, Tier 2.
Okay.
Tier 2, yeah.
Yes.
Remember, capital of Tier 2.
Right.
The new capital of Tier 2 is 50 million ultimately, but they must meet 35 million by April 1 this year. And of course, the state microfinance banks should operate within a state or FCT and can have branches within that state.
Okay.
And the national franchise, of course, the one who said, the capital of 5 billion,
Massive.
5 billion can have branches in every state they choose to have.
What do you think? I mean, the limits, especially for the tier 2 for the rural areas, you don't think that's a little, not too controlling, eh? It seems reasonable?
50 million. Because one of the problems in the past has been low capitalization by these microfinance banks. Do recall that they collect deposits and they lend out money.
Correct.
And capital is a cushion to those bad credits they give.
Yes.
And so we found out that in instances where the banks have been, run into problems, the low capitalization has been a major limiting factor in recoveries. So that's why this new capital has been put into place. No, I think it's not much.
Okay.
Because banking is serious business.
Serious business, yes.
But most importantly, is the corporate governance issues. But remember, these people are taking deposits.
Yes, they are.
And they are giving out loans. So what kind of structures? What I've seen in the past is that, people have not been very disciplined in this process. And the board, they have not had very structured boards. And so these new guidelines will, focus on that too.
Okay. Now, how do you think that the MFBs can survive in this environment in light of the proliferation of the fintechs driven by technology that are spreading around there? How do you think they can survive?
It's like when people ask me the same question about the banks in Nigeria, you hear a lot of hoopla out there about fintechs. They're going to swallow the banks. I said, no, it is not that. Because Nigeria is still about 50% underbanked. If you move out in some area, travel a lot by road in Nigeria, you don't see any banks. So the issue is that a lot of the microfinance banks have focused on the cities and left the other areas where they should just go and spread their wings.
Right.
That has been the problem. No, there's so much to be done in Nigeria. And the microfinance banks who are totally focused can position their locations in those areas that are underbanked and make money. Okay. And at the end of the day, look at this way. A lot of the fintechs have focused on payday loans. That's a segment of the business that we have nobody supporting them now. The single individual entrepreneurs, the micro businesses who can take money get loans from the conventional banks. These microfinance banks are supposed to attend to them. Create a risk management framework because these people don't have collateral that will enable them to lend to this sector for the growth of the economy.
Fantastic. Real quick, only got a couple minutes. I want to get your thoughts on the finance minister saying that the federal government might consider reviewing the budgets because of how the coronavirus is affecting oil prices.
What is the global village now? We are not immune from what's happening worldwide. You need to just open the financial press. It happens again that China, all this is reason because China has become a very major economic bloc in the world.
Right.
Even a lot of the American Western countries now, the manufacturing plants are all in China. And so if China is shut down, the demand for petrol, oil and gas products that we sell will fall. And not surprisingly, the price is hovering about $53 per barrel.
Correct.
Whereas our budget benchmark is $57 per barrel. So you can imagine the problem that we're having. So first, we're going to have revenue shortfall.
Yes, exactly.
And there's even projection by some agencies in the world that this may fall below $50 per barrel.
Yeah, Goldman Sachs.
Goldman Sachs say about $7. So if that happens, for $7 per barrel, it's $10 below our benchmark.
We're in trouble, though.
Yeah, it's going to be a rough year.
So how soon can the government quickly look at diversifying revenue streams so that we don't have to depend so much on oil?
They're doing that. from independence. You know, I've been doing that. I've been doing that.
Are you hopeful? Because are you hopeful as to outlook for 2020?
Yeah, it's going to be. It's a tough year.
Yeah, it's a
tough year. A tough year.
We'll see how it goes.
But we'll survive, as usual.
You think we're going to survive? Okay, very quickly, I just want to touch on the microfinance banks again. For the rural areas, right? Do you think, at least for, I think it was the tier 2 that they said, you're not to open up more than 3 or 4 branches?
No, tier 2, 1 branch.
In the rural?
In the 1 branch.
Okay, how
each microfinance cannot open
more than
1 branch.
Okay, fine. I just want to run just a comparison here. For those operating in the rural areas with the power shortages and so on versus those, don't you think that the banks in the urban areas, right, the high density areas, will perhaps perform better than those in the rural?
Yeah, but that's why they limited it to one. Remember the issue of management.
Yes.
These microfinance, the tier 2 ones, are not supposed to have massive structures, massive employees and so on and so forth, and carry a lot of overhead. Issue of supervision and management of multiple branches.
Okay.
They're supposed to be very small and tidy and really run with low cost of operation. That's why they are hooked onto that 1 branch to enable them, have an area they can control and manage. And
you know how we have with deadlines. Do you think if the banks are not able to meet these deadlines, do you think they could possibly be extended in order to give them more room?
I think those who are serious in the business will meet it. The capitals are not too much for the kind of business they're doing.
Very interesting. Chika Mbonu, our business analyst, thank you so much for joining us and giving us your insights on the new regulations for microfinance banks.